Sharpeville, an industrial township, thousands gather outside a police station in protest against new laws requiring every African to carry a pass at all times.
The bastards ignored the bladesman! No, they weren't scared of all that very well waiting!
Jullie moeten gewoon gewoon maken, is groot moeilijk als zo. Kom dan, kom dan.
Luister, ek vra nou vir 2 ure, dan duisende van die de cells are full!
How long is it gonna take?
Jullie laatste keer dat ik met jullie kamer opdat.
Mina, jullie mensen informatie! Eenmaal informatie! Hierdie is 'n onwettige bijeenkomst! This fans is up back to the stadium! This is your final warning! Afkeren!
There are many people who feel that it is useless and futile for us to continue talking peace and non-violence against a government whose reply is only savage attacks on an unarmed and defenseless people.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome to our Gauteng Film Commission and the Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation virtual roundtable. And this year we are celebrating and commemorating the year of Charlotte Maxeke in this human rights, and the entire month as well as the rest of the year. We are here today going to talk about human rights, where we are today as human rights, where we are today with the preservation of human rights. But with me today, I've got my distinguished guests, and I would like to welcome all my guests today for making the time to engage with me for the rest of today. And I would like to welcome all our audiences that are watching from various online streaming sessions. Welcome, guys. We are looking forward to your participation. My name, your host, is Interdependence from the Gauteng Film Commission, as responsible for skills development and audience development programs. Without further ado, I would like to start with my guest, Neville Felix. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name's Neville Felix. I'm the director at Sedibeng District Municipality, responsible for sports, recreation, arts, culture, and heritage. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Shirley.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Shirley Naran from the Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation, and I'm the Directorate of Social Cohesion. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll head over to Meselwani as well as Ntateniko.
Dumela, Kisilwani Pentani, the chairperson of Kulumani Support Group for the victims and survivors of apartheid. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Nico Ntema, and I'm a Sharpeville heritage enthusiast. But besides that, I'm an acting center manager for Kito Information and Development Center, which is operating from the Sharpeville Old Police Station.
Thank you. And Tate Joseph Khatebe?
Good afternoon, colleagues, viewers at home. My name is Joseph Norman Khatebe. I'm an acting director at the Valu University of Technology responsible for community engagement, but I'm also a co-founder of Ubaba Okoto Men's Forum, which has been doing a lot of work in the Val, particularly during this month of human rights. But I'm also a social cohesion advocate at a national level. In my capacity as a deputy secretary, we are responsible for social cohesion and nation building as it finds expression in the National Development Plan and Outcome 14 of the Medium-Term Strategic Framework. And you are welcomed.
Thank you. And I think welcome everyone again. We're hoping to have a very fruitful 1 hour, 30 minutes discussion. I would like to start by saying happy human rights. And we thank ourselves, our families, God, and all the other beliefs that we have that in the year of COVID-19, we are still on above earth and we are still alive and we are still healthy. We thank everybody else where we are believing to still be alive and be present in this day. Human rights, Sharpeville. Ntate Felix, would you like to take us through a short history of the Sharpeville Massacre? And whilst we are still talking about that, we then ask you, Ntateniko, to just come in and talk about human rights in Sharpeville in today's age.
Thank you. I think I need to start at the very beginning, and sometimes we miss the activity and the events that led to Sharpeville 1960. Sharpeville 1960 has a background of where the National Party in 1948, when they became the governing party of South Africa, or the governing process of South Africa, when they came into being, they started to facilitate a whole range of things. And just prior to their establishment as the new governance structure in South Africa, they had then adopted a whole range of policy frameworks. Some of these policy frameworks has always been there since colonialism, but however, what they did is they created a legislative framework that made segregation and ethnic racial disparities part of the processes of law in South Africa. And they then produced in 1958 what one can classify as the forced removal processes. And this happened in the Vaal at a place called Top Location, where they had this location on the outskirts of the city at the time. And as the city was developing, some of the residents of the city in Vereniging had a problem with this mixed conurbation of people that was staying on this place called Top Location, just about 10 kilometers outside of the heart of the city of Vereniging. And within this community was a diverse group of people. This diverse group of people had your African groupings, it had some Chinese groupings staying there, it had Indian community groupings that stayed there, and also your so-called colored groupings that was staying all in this conurbation called Top Location, where the Vaal Technorama Museum is based today as we speak. And this top location had produced numerous fundamental people. For example, a lot of people don't know that some of the people that come from here is Adelaide Sekudu, the wife of O.R. Tambo. She comes from that Top Location area. Another person of interest or person of special interest is the lady, the Kachalia mother, who was also born in Top Location. And there was numerous other credible people, musicians and poets and so forth, that came from this background of this conurbation of this community that had found to live with each other in Top Location. From there, they were forcefully removed into segregated areas to the Roystene and there in Sharpeville, where they moved the so-called African majority people there, and they moved the Indian community to the new area called Roshni, and they also moved the colored communities right next door to Roshni into a place called Rastafal. The Chinese that was there also moved, and obviously they found themselves in new places. But coming back to this is the foundation of Sharpeville. Sharpeville itself then made the international global scene by virtue of what had happened in preliminary to the 21st of March 1960, where the whole country, the whole atmosphere, the whole foundation of the country was shaken by the changes that was starting to come into play by the National Party government. And of course, this then produced within itself a series of unhappiness with a whole range of different people, different communities with different political formations and parties. And of course, people had to stand up and make their voices heard. And this, unfortunately, is what then transpired on that fateful day, on the 21st of March 1960, where people, through the advice that was given to them, then marched to the Sharpeville police station to object against the processes of carrying what one can classify a dompas, because that is what you needed to carry with this new segregation. You couldn't walk in town. Wherever the police would find you, you would have to have this passport on you to prove that you were resident of the area. There was also curfews at night that wouldn't allow you into different areas because of the clampdown of this new policy framework of the National Party. This then forced the community in Sharpeville to take it upon themselves, along with other communities in South Africa. It also happened across the country in Langa. It also stopped many communities in Everton and other areas, Roshni, Rastafal, and so forth, from actually joining with the processes, because they were stopped on that fateful day by the security forces and the police from also joining up with the Sharpeville community so that it could give the effect that was needed to show that there was consistent disapproval and rejection of this apartheid policy. The unfortunate part is that on this fateful day, this community went with a full intention to go and express their dissatisfaction with this apartheid. And in this particular process, unfortunately, from the records that we had managed to gather together, the special police units that was brought in from Krugersdorp and other areas then saw this as a process of people expressing possible violence or whatever their views was on that particular day. And the end result was that 69 people were fatally wounded, and a number of that community was injured on that specific day. In fact, which was supposed to be a peaceful resistance march, turned into a massacre of such a proportion that this made global international news. And on the basis of this, the United Nations eventually outlawed apartheid as a crime against humanity. So I thought I'd just leave it at that so that we allow Nico and others to also bring the discussion into the fray. Thank you.
Before you respond, Nico, thank you, Neville Felix. Before you respond, do you think, within your response, do you then think human rights is being respected with the intention which it was meant to be in today's age, as you're also going to bring in all the other issues that we are faced with in today's human rights issues? Do you think the significance that it played, do we commemorate that and respect that? But also, are we also getting services which we fought for so much in today's age? What is your view on that?
My personal view, it's quite deep. I'm actually busy writing a book as we speak called Race, Pride and Prejudice, which I'm hoping to release by the end of this year or early next year. But in the book, I've done quite a lot of deep research as to the conditions in South Africa and the situations that we face ourselves with on a daily basis. My personal view is that as South Africa, we have not sufficiently dealt with the social injustices of the past. Mm-hmm. Given the fact that these social injustices is actually 369 years since the foundation of colonialism in South Africa. So you have a series of social injustices that happened over many, many centuries consistently by people that came and took over. There's no other way to put it, but came and took over South Africa.
So
there was numerous.
I'm sorry to cut you, Felix, but I think I just want to get everybody into this conversation. Nico, what's your view on what Felix is saying?
Maybe I'll have to give a perspective first on how significant Sharpeville itself is on the international platforms. On the 21st of March, 1960, that's the story that everyone knows. People were shot in Sharpeville, 69 officially were declared dead, and 180 as an official record as well became a known figure. But the 21st of March in 1966 was declared an International Day Against Racial Discrimination by the United Nations, which was a milestone that was never seen in the history of a small township like that, to have recognition. But on top of that, the constitution of this country was signed in Sharpeville on the 10th of December, 1996. But in 1948, on the 10th of December, the United Nations declared the International Day, actually the International Human Rights Day.
Yes.
So you can realize that Sharpeville is the only place on earth, because that's what I always tell people, it's the only place on earth that has got the relations to human rights and racial discrimination, especially intentions to eradicate it, than any other place in the world. Meaning that you've got days that are actually recognized here in South Africa as a public holiday on the 21st of March, but internationally so. And in all educational institutions with interest in other places where apartheid is actually linked to other atrocities that are happening around the world. But those are days that, to this day, no other settlement of this size has ever had that kind of recognition. So the challenge is that we haven't explored or even exploited that milestone to this day. Sharpeville still remains a date, it still remains a number, and even those people that have died on the 21st of March remain literally faceless in the face of the world. We've got these beautiful big days, but we still can't recognize those people that were shot dead on that particular day, even not recognizing those who survived. So in terms of human rights, it's not an event. Recognizing human rights, it's a process, because you have to perform a certain activity that leads to another activity so that you can actually shape the future or actually change some course. But at this time, I still believe that we haven't explored how big Sharpeville is, especially in terms of international recognition, but also we haven't actually recognized ourselves as South Africans on how fortunate we are to have an event, just one event, that can actually have tentacles that are even linked to other issues around the world.
So coming back to what you are saying, and I'm bringing you in, Mesilwane, is that with the Khulumani, a group of activists and survivors, with what Neville has just said and Tadeniko has just said, what is the role of this NGO, and what is the intentions of this movement, giving consequence and response to what Neville and Tadeniko has just said?
Thank you. Sharpeville in the Elijah Khulumani support group iphutile batho ithusitse meya ya batho haholo batho ba neng ba kula ka hare, batho ba neng ba hloka the counseling, batho ba neng ba hloka ho thusiwa ka dingaka. Khulumani ile ya phutha batho bana, ya ba fa counseling, ya ba batlela dingaka tse ka ba thusa. Khulumani e sebeditse ho fihlela e late mmuso, hore mmuso o shebe batho bana ke ha TLC e tlatla, e leng TLC e ntseng mosebetsi half. TLC e entse unfinished business, e sile batho ba bangata haholo ho batho bana ba 1960. Ke a gola ho batho ba ka bang 110 ba teng, e nkile only 20 ya batho ho ba thusa. Mmuso ha o be letho ka tseo. Batho ba teng ba ntse ba phela ba ntse ba ipatile le hona jwale, beo Khulumani ntse ba qeka ho botlhokwa bo buang, ba ntse ba hlaha ka bongwe hore ba lemetse, ba bang ba lahlehetswe ke dikelello. Ko gona ba ntse ba hlabana, ba ile ba balela ditulong tse fapafapaneng, Lesotho, Zimbabwe, hohle mona, empa ke batho ba lemetseng ka 1960 batho ba. Empa mmuso hodima moo o renka Sharpeville, ha o ka kena ka hara lekeishene la Sharpeville, ha o ka ya matlong a batho bana ba hlokalletsweng ke beng ka bona, e ne e le bana fela ba setseng, ba survive-ileng ke bana ya matlong a bona. O tle o bone mehau. Khulumani e ntse e ba fa counseling, e ntse ba thusa mane le mane, e ba ruta mesebetsi ya matsoho hore ba tsebe ho iketsetsa, ba tle ba kgona ho phela, ba kgona ho ba bue ditori tsa bona mme ba thole tjhelete, ba kgona ho bina ka se etsahetseng ho bona, ba kgona ho itholla tjheletenyana, ba kgona ho etsa didrama tsena tse tla ba patalang hore ba kgona ho etsa hoo, e le hore lefatshe kaofela tle le bone ntho e etsahetseng, hobane e ka lefatshe ha le bone, le mmuso ha o bone, ebile ha o tsebe. Empa ka drama eo hoba ba eta hantle sa tsatsi leo ke batho ba baholo ba neng ba le teng ka teng.
So I think, Mama Kialebo, and I think mosebetsi o etswang ke Khulumani ke mosebetsi o moholo haholo, because of you are offering counseling e leng hore has been neglected and we have ignored for so long. Then I think it's important that I bring in Shirley to say, Shirley, I will put you on the spot on this one to say, among the things that we are discussing now, it's the recognition of the survivors as well as the heroes and the heroines, which we have not mentioned. Is there a responsibility that that the department is looking into these issues that we are just talking about right now?
Yeah, yes, Chair. We are in the process of recognizing the massacres. We have been dealing with the Kulumani group for many, many years now, in conjunction with Sedibeng municipality, and we've been highlighting all these issues from time to time. And I think we played a very pivotal role as far as human rights is concerned. We've joined with all the different parties, it's PAC, SESCO, and all the other different parties that we have played in and on this 1960 Sharpeville Massacre.
Okay.
So as a department, yes, we have a role.
So, Ndata Joseph, in terms of civil society, the responsibility between government and civil society around human rights, which space are we playing in today?
Let me first and foremost highlight and indicate that Sharpeville is forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
The survivors and the victims of Sharpeville are still entrenched in poverty. There is still a total neglect of the living conditions that were in 1960 and today. Sharpeville is neglected in a sense that the state of infrastructure of Sharpeville as a whole is in tatters. Our heritage site across the Mfuleni has been forgotten to such an extent that during the month of human rights, this month, we had to clean the monument, which is neglected. The vandalism in that infrastructure, the precinct to be precise, leaves a lot to be desired. And by saying so, as a civic society, we are trying to entice the government. We are trying to sensitize our own municipalities to be on top of their game. It cannot be that year in, year out, we do the same processes without thinking of the benefit or the beneficiation that can be derived from these processes. Rest assured that the current, the 2021 human rights will be nothing different from what we have done in the past 10 years or so. From the civic society point of view, we are challenging the government head on to say that the victims and survivors of the Sharpeville shooting must somehow be compensated. There must be a stipend that must be given to them on a monthly basis. Why we are saying that the freedom that we're enjoying, it is because of those victims, the blood that was shed in 1960. So it is time for us to sing a different tune. Who shines on the 21st of March? Our own premiers, our own government, our own president, and so forth. Post that with the opportunities and the privileges that Mfuleni and Sedibeng in general can bring. I'll just mention, we are surrounded by Vald River. The marine economy that is derived from the Vald River and the Vald Dam does not benefit our society, Sharpeville to be precise, with anything. We've got the private industry, your ISCO, your Cape Gate, your NAMPEC, surrounding both Sharpeville, Bipatong, and etc. There is nothing that is coming from those industries that are of a benefit to people of Sharpeville and Mfuleni residents, to be precise. We've got a tourism, an opportunity in the tourism landscape that we can explore using the very same monuments, the very same precinct, the very same historic places like your Toknorama, but they remain just entities without any benefit to the Valley community.
So coming back to what you're saying, Dr. Joseph, and I think I'm posing this one to anyone, is that I think I want us to also come back and channel this conversation to say, if the infrastructure that you're talking about, the issues of tourism, the issues of heritage and preservation, and remember, this conversation it's both ways. I also have to be challenged with some of these issues that you're talking about, as I'm also representing at the GFC, is that the space that we need to start playing in us giving each other recommendations on this session to say, where do we start in terms of preserving our heritage? Where do we start with the little that we have in terms of preserving our language, preserving our infrastructure, preserving the history that we have that is so rich, and that we feel that it's also our responsibility as stewardship within this country to preserve what is ours, and also be the ones that are telling the good stories, because we are the only ones that have the correct data that is honest and true, outside of the people that will come in our country and take our history and go away with it. Neville Felix, what is your view on that?
My view is that while I agree that we haven't dealt with the social injustices of the past unilaterally across most of South Africa because of the amount of oppression and the amount of problems that we had. But when it comes to Sharpeville itself, I need to point out firstly, and I want to agree with some of the speakers, in particular Mapatani and even Nico and others, that Sharpeville has been a turning point in our history. Because Sharpeville, after the massacre in Sharpeville, a decision was then taken to facilitate a revolutionary process of the underground of MK and a whole range of other players that came into focus. It also changed the whole atmosphere in the country, and it led to even the issues at Lily's farm with the rest of the Rivonia trialists and all of that. It's all linked. It's interlinked to that specific epoch in history and the period. Now, Sharpeville being the turning point, I want to agree that there is not been sufficient recognition given to the very families and victims themselves of that day. Today, as we speak, we probably remember them as the 69 victims, but nobody knows the personal attributes that these victims brought to the process, or who they were, what value did they add in life, and what was their families all about, what was their views and stuff like that. So yes, I want to agree with that, but then there is a lot that has happened. And I want to just give you a quick rundown, if you'll allow me 3 minutes, just to give you a quick rundown.
3
minutes. In 1995, with the advent of local government, remember 1994, 27th of April, democracy. 1995, November, the following year, we had then what was classified local government. With the advent of local government and this local government bodies that was very diverse, most of them became amalgamated under the new dispensation of democracy, which we had black authorities, white authorities, that was all amalgamated. And in 1995, a decision was then taken to build a monument in Sharpeville. That monument was then built for a period of about 2.5 to 3 years. They built the monument from 95. Then immediately after that, in 2010, we applied for a neighborhood grant that was given to us from national government, which was about 280 million rand, where we then developed the precincts around Sharpeville, like there where George Tabby Stadium is, at the monument, and also the gravesite where we created this special place to commemorate of what had happened there in 1960. And this was then part of the Arab report. It's ARUP, Arab report, that we had developed. And in this report was to facilitate a complete comprehensive turnaround strategy, not only just for Sharpeville, but for the whole of Sedibeng, but with Sharpeville being one of the flag projects. So there was 3 areas that was a flag project in the Arab report. The one was the Sharpeville precinct, which was the hall that was then developed and refurbished and fixed. And also the other one was on the riverfront, where we wanted to turn the whole area into a river city. The third area was the old government precinct that was then turned into constitutional square, for Market Square, that was originally there for farmers and traders in the past. And we turned this now into Constitution Square because the pronunciation of the Constitution was then processed on the 10th of December in 1996 and in Sharpeville. And it was the first time in the history of South Africa that we actually had a full sitting of Parliament in Sharpeville for the first time in its history. So there's been quite a lot of things that had happened. But then subsequent to that, in 2016, 2017, we then took it another step further to apply to UNESCO, to the United Nations, to have Sharpeville declared a World Heritage Site. And this is the current period that we still find ourselves with, of trying to facilitate a process that will take us to the application and the final process of declaring Sharpeville a World Heritage Site. So we've been doing things that was much broader, but when it comes to the personal welfare and the well-being of the survivors and so forth and so on, there is other departments that should have stepped in to play a specific role, and not just the heritage departments. We've got social departments and welfare departments. So there's a whole range of programs that has been geared towards the Sharpeville survivors and the community itself. In fact, we also took them on a journey of living history for the first time in the history of South Africa. We took the Sharpeville survivors right down to Cape Town, to Parliament, and they were recognized by the president and everybody. That's how much we wanted to place emphasis on the Sharpeville community. We took them to Robben Island. We've taken them to other areas where there's been massacres for my department itself. And we've been very instrumental in trying to be at the forefront of agitating, like Nico is saying, like Joseph Gadebe is saying. We are agitating to say, please people, we cannot do this alone. We've been at the forefront for a long time, trying to take this thing to another level. But unfortunately, unless the big wigs, the big government departments, the big budgets start to be focused towards Sharpeville in its redevelopment process, nothing is going to happen. The second area I wanted to focus is that we also need to deal with the social issues, because like Ma Patan is saying, they've gone to the Truth Commission. What happened?
Yes.
What happened? Did they receive
nothing happened?
Psychiatric assistance or any programs? So for me, the issue is there's been a disjuncture in the government systems, and we should go back to some of them and revisit them and make the cabinet and government aware that this is the challenges that we have around the Sharpeville survivors. Thank you.
I think from my side, what I would like to contribute to this conversation is that, you know, amongst the things that as the Film Commission we have seen, and I think I will take part responsibility for that as I am representing the Film Commission in the session today, is that we have seen a very limited number of applications coming our way from Sharpeville, whether it's it for filmmaking, whether it's it for audience development programs, whether it's it for content development, many other services that we are providing in the Film Commission. We really have seen, I think I know only 2, if not 3, filmmakers which are constant from Sharpeville. But from the point of audience development, the one thing that I know when I arrived there is a lot of community development program that is happening on the ground. But I think the community that is happening and programs that are happening don't reach to spaces and offices as the GFC, because I can really commit to you and everybody that is in this session to say in the past 5 years, the GFC has not received even more than 5 applications that are coming from Sharpeville. So the first question that I would always ask myself is that as the GFC, did we do less to give information about the services that we provide? And that, hence I'm saying I take part responsibility in this thing. Secondly, is it that people maybe in the space of Sharpeville, the majority are not interested in film, they are interested in other careers, which also there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But also what happens to the ones that are trying to retain and preserve stories about Sharpeville and content about Sharpeville? What happens to that number? Why is it that we also don't have a relationship with them? Hence, I'm saying that I think I'm not a saint in this session today. I also have to take responsibility to say, with the little that we have seen and with the little that we have funded over the years, we have received a very, very, very minimum number from Sharpeville, which is very disturbing, because the stories that are coming there, and when I get there, even on a social space, the stories that I get, the programs that I hear happening. I mean, I met Nico by default, knowing that I'm also going to meet him formally in our meeting, with all the work that he does and audience development programs that he's doing, which had I not been in Sharpeville on Monday, I wouldn't have known. So, Nico, I'm putting you again also back to this conversation to say, what other programs do we think? Because I'm saying we need to start saying, bringing recommendations to the end of this session. The issues are on the table, the issues are being addressed, but I want us by the end of this session be able to bring recommendations, even if we can start with small things, but at least we'll know this is where we are going, and this will be rolled out in phase approach. Nico, with your audience development programs, how else do you think we need to start preserving and telling Sharpeville stories and making sure that at least we document that? Because you and I at some point will not be above earth, but we will need our children to still know the history of Sharpeville. What is your take on that?
Okay, thank you again. It's a very interesting question, but I'm going to answer it twofold. There's been a lot of work that has been done already in terms of documentation. I'm part of some academics that are, completing their PhDs in terms of certain sections of interest on Sharpeville. Probably one of them will be graduating in June this year. Over work that has been done over a period of 6 years. But besides that, we have tried from our side to re-internationalize Sharpeville in a different, complete manner, whereby the issue of a date should fall off. We cannot be recognized because of one day. So many things happened in top location. So many things happened since 1942. So many things happened a minute after the massacre. And so many things are happening again now. So our history is mutating. We are getting various variants of Sharpeville since 1960, and those things have to be recognized. So there's quite a lot of things that are actually happening on the ground. And if I can mention what we have done from the preservation point of view, we are operating from the actual site of the massacre, which is the Sharpeville Old Police Station. And it's a national heritage site. It was declared on the 31st of December 2016. But the building, like many others that the government managed or controlled, have got challenges related to funding and budgets, because in some instances they're not seen as essential service delivery spots. And then we took a lease from the municipality, and through our activities here, we've managed to preserve the building itself. From disarray. I mean, this is a very old building, built in the 50s, and there's a police station. You can imagine the impact of the sun and rain and everything else. So we actually took back that building to its original state, but mainly to be beneficial to more people than those that were surrounding it in 1960, when some of them were shot. So in terms of audience development, as you're saying, we have people that are coming to live that history on a daily basis. More than 50 students that are coming for life skills and computer skills within the building. We've just completed 1,600 people per day meals that we have been doing since January through a partnership with the Department of Arts and Culture. And we have initiated a process with the food bank that all the victims of apartheid under Kolomani, including the Sharpeville 6, must be given groceries on a monthly basis. We started that on the 5th of February. We're going to be doing it again on the 5th of March. Actually, we started on the 5th of March. We're doing it on the 5th of April. It will be happening again in May so that it can be reviewed. But our intention is to actually have them to be part of that beneficiation process from the food bank and the social development in Gauteng. So those things are not only about writing stories or speaking on the 21st of March. We need to be able to take care of those people that are actually telling the stories. And one of them is that Mayor Selena Nguni, who is one of the actual victims for being shot on that day, survivor, to put it right, has actually been documented almost more than anybody else because of her age. She's turning 85 on the 2nd of May. And she got center spread in a German newspaper. So you can imagine that besides the stories that we tell here in South Africa, there are actual survivor stories that have been spread all over the world. And we need to be able to do that even here in South Africa. And the challenge is that the Gauteng Economic Development as a department is sitting there at number 24 and very difficult to access. And most people will tell you, even from the GTA point of view, other than the agriculture department and all those things, it's not an easy effort that you can actually do to go to Joburg and find someone to be able to speak to without the bottlenecks and the red tapes and all this. Sometimes you can put up a proposal this year. When you go after 6 months, that person has been moved, and then the new person is not interested to be part of that particular process. So it's not about people not being interested to access services of government. It's about government being hard to find or hard to get in terms of making all these things to be coming down to communities. The example that I can put out is that on the 10th of this month, we had the United Nations High Commissioner's Office on Human Rights documenting the stories of young people here in Sharpeville. And it's a process that took a week to organize. And we managed to actually put that. It's on YouTube now. And some of these young people are actually going to be part of the Human Rights Festival this coming Monday in Johannesburg at Constitution Hill. And through a process that only took a week to organize. But if you go to government and say we are having that kind of a program, you'll be given 5 to 10 names of different people that you can even find on the telephone or find through email or they can't respond or anything like that. And in that instance, it only becomes an interest around the 21st of March. If Sharpeville speaks in June, no one is listening. If Sharpeville speaks in September, no one is listening. But come March, maybe someone will listen to you because it's related to us. So those are challenges, whether you're a filmmaker or you're a dancer or you're any other person that needs to tell this particular story, they're going to take it from pillar to post so long it's not related to March or it's not near March. And we even know, people here will tell you that we are seeing the streets being cleaned. We know, it's around March. And that has to end because most of the stories are actually being lost because we can't get access. The offices are far. Some of them, they don't know about them. And there's not that much interaction between these departments with communities, not Sharpeville per se. The department people still have the same challenges. So if we can have access to these things and government coming down to the people, we'll be able to get the content that we want and the input will actually have the desired output in terms of what we want to do. But those are some of the challenges that we have. Although other departments are forthcoming, but for Sharpeville, throughout the years, I've been 25 years in this game, I know all these frustrations of actually getting into a government door, knocking there, and sometimes someone will open, but most of the time, no one opens that door.
So I think, in as much as there's all these, the challenges that we are putting, it's always important that we also must not neglect the good things that are coming out of Sharpeville and all the other things besides even maybe audiovisual and arts and culture. So I think I'm very happy with what you just presented, Nico, with the work that has happened dealing with some of the social issues for the survivors. And I think it's a beautiful program that is happening that just maybe needs us to maybe call other people and open more doors for these things to happen, because we can't only just, you're correct to say Sharpeville cannot be only Sharpeville when it's talking about the 21st of March, but it is a living experience of people that are living there on a daily basis that have all the issues, whether it's on education, whether it's on social issues, whether it's on security issues, and those things all cannot be ignored. But also we can't be also saying there's nothing else that is good that is coming out of Sharpeville. Even if it's outside of this, the audiovisual and the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture and Preservation, there is a whole lot of other things that are happening in Sharpeville.
Yes.
I mean, I know there has been a group of young people that have done so much work trying to assist a group of disabilities. When they go to school, they come back, they teach them handwork. And so these are other things that are coming that even, one is happy to see that, there's somebody that is just saying, I will just take my time and donate to the younger kids so that they must not feel the frustrations that they're faced with, but so that we can also put smiles on people's faces. So I'm saying, Joseph, from civil society, with all the challenges that we have, poverty, the issues of apartheid housing, which we mentioned when we were talking about earlier, the issues of the TRC not being able to assist us in this human rights, in today's issues and today's human rights problems from civic society, where do we stand?
Thank you, leadership. You see the problem here that we are seeing. We are doing things that are not tangible, beneficial to the victims. Let me just make mention of two interventions that one has been embarking upon since one started to work with a Kulmani support group and Sharpeville Foundation. From the social cohesion point of view and nation building point of view, I have requested the National Department of Arts and Culture to procure us what we call a hydroform interlock brick making machines for 3 communities. The first community to be given preference here is Sharpeville, then Patong, Small Farms, and Everton. Why these projects? Till today, the roofing system that we found at Sharpeville, it's one of the apartheid era system, the one that still uses what we call asbestos, which is hazardous and dangerous to the health of those that are living in those houses. And no one has done anything about that. It's 6 years down the line. People are still dying of that asbestos, but there's no intervention. That is one of the programs that will say, if it is successful, because even the day before I was engaging the social development, the national office, to allow the communities to build brick themselves, because those alternative form of brick making is not like a conventional brick making machine, but it is using less water, it is using less cement, and it is using, or the communities are building those houses themselves. In that package that I've requested, there is a training package that is involved, which will be training individuals and community members to build those houses themselves. But over and above that pilot project, if it is done, we'll be donating these machines to communities to continue commercializing, to continue building those alternative bricks that will be taking care of your pit latrine toilets that find expressions in Small Farm and Everton in terms of sanitation broadly. But at the end of the day, at least we would have left behind the skills and expertise and know-how of how to make bricks, how to commercialize bricks, and how to make an ends living for the victim and survivors. When you check, there's a serious backlog of houses since 1996, where the applicant have still not been beneficiaries and recipient of a government housing project. So when we need such tangible interventions that will make or improve the livelihoods of the victims and survivors and the community of Sharpeville in general. Secondly, we are saying to government, government must not treat us as a charitable entities. Government must bring projects and programs that will be sustainable to us. One idea that we can do, the very same precinct and other heritage sites, why government can't donate these to civic society organization like your Kulumani Support Group, like your Sharpeville Foundation, so that communities themselves might begin to commercialize these entities. I'll just make mention of the Sharpeville precinct, where we've got a library that has been closed since the beginning of this year, which does not serve the purpose of the communities. Everything in the valley has been sold. You can't access the river. You have to pay for that. There's a difficulty in accessing our heritage site if they are not taken care of. So let's have an arrangement, or let's have a framework where we are at least creating employment for those who are affected. It cannot be that we are a subject of food parcels only without us being able to create or generate food for ourselves. We need those backyard gardens where government will be donating to us or those who are affected the machinery, the resources for us to at least establish our own backyard gardens. Over and above that, we've got institutions like your higher education institutions like your Valley University of Technology, your Northwest University. How do we tap into the expertise and the know-hows of such department for the beneficiation of Sharpeville? We have been trying so immensely to put Sharpeville to the standard of Soweto Vilakazi, to be precise. But what is it that is tangible that UNESCO is bringing other than affirming us as a World Heritage Site? So when we are saying we need the support, we need a tangible support, not the support that when those who are obsessed with tenders will be benefiting, but support and interventions which will be directed to the victim and survivors of the massacre. So let's think broadly, because from where I'm standing, we have been doing one and the same thing. The 280 million that has been given, or that was a subject to build a precinct, how much of it has been cascaded down to those
I don't know, I think Joseph froze, but I think we're getting the gist of what he's saying. So what I think now, I need to just read the comments from our supporters and our viewers and our listeners right now. There is a message from Sipho Dlamini saying, the positives that we have is people like Nico, who advocates for the struggling and who recognizes the poor. He continues to say, the GFC, please engage with other stakeholders in government and private sectors. And he also says, this is an educational and informative session. Thank you so much, Sipho Dlamini. Nico, with regards to actually, let me rather go to Petani. Petani, the programs that you think right now, where we are sitting, with all the social development programs that go Sikulumani, they are also giving opportunity to the young ones, because I think the issue is not only about the survivors and the victims, but now we are talking about also youth development programs. Give youth development programs
Kulumane e thusa batjha haholo hore ba thole di-bursary ke ya pele. Re a ba kopela for di-bursary le ha di re sokodisa empa ke ba tsi ba di tholang. Kulumane hape e isa bana hore ba ye mo ho nang le batho ba entseng di-course tse ding, ba kgone ho ba thusa, ba kgone ho phunya lesoba lena. Haholo Kulumane bothata ba yona ke batho ba baholo ba seng ba tsofetse, ba bang ba ya kula, boholo ba bona ba ya kula, ha ba kgone ho ya dingakeng hobane ha hona motho a ba thusang. O tshwanetse ba ntshe pension, tjheleteng ya bona ya pension hore ba ye dingakeng, hore ba ise ditloholo tsa bona kapo bana ba bona dikolong. Ke bothata ba sokola yona tjhelete ya ho ba isa kapo hore ba ba tholle hore mmuso o ba kenye dikolo, di a rejectiwa tsa bona. Mohlala, nna ga ke sa batla go bua ka batho ba bane ke bua ka batho ngwana wa ka o le ba tshwela marketing ga ga nako gobane o ne a sena tšhelete ya go qetelelo bana ba batho ba bangata ba Coleman ba tlogetse dikolo ke lona lebaka leo empa Coleman e ntse e bua e ntse ba thusa gagolo se re shebile bophelo re ba shebela dingaka gobane ntho e kgolo ke yona ke batho ba bagolo batho batjha ba rona ke bana ba holofetseng re na le batjha ba e leng bana ba mahlasipa ba e leng bana ba batho ba ileng ba bolao ba kula ka dihloohong go tshwanetse be re etse re ile ba kopela gore ba fumane di-special doctors ba bangwe ba ntse ba jere dikulo mathekeng a bona ke bothata bana ba bona ba sokola ka bona jwale ke sa tjho ke re rona re le Coleman mmuso ha o re nkelle hloohong gobane se re tsofetse.
So, Mama, I think what we are saying, because of Jana, we are what hanse ke botsa dipotso tse. Re botsa dipotso tse ileng hore le rona hanse ke ngola fatshe, hanse ke inama ntse ke ngola fatshe. Hore ke tse feng le rona, I said hore among the things that I want us to find at the end of this conversation is recommendations where we need to start intervening and looking at little things. It does not have to be a huge responsibility, but we need to know where we need to start. So, issues of educational challenges and bursaries for the young people, issues of social grants and health for the elderly, and all these recommendations, recording all rona re fitise mo re ka kgonang go fitisa teng le rona tse re kgonang ka boikarabelo ho tsona le rona re tla bona re hlaisang ko jwang re nke boikarabelo. Particularly, I will take responsibility to say the GFC can only focus on development and issues around audiovisual industries. When we have opportunities around audiovisual industries, we'll then need to then say, Felix, how do we come back, Nico, look at all the programs and all the other institutions and the development programs where we can start working together so that I don't overcommit myself, because of, as the Film Commission, our responsibility and sole responsibility is to promote the audiovisual industries within Gauteng. And that is, it comes with skills development and training facilities. It comes with audience development programs, which we can do Lilona. It's also looking at people that can start applying to making their films, because I know there's a lot of groups telling where they are shooting randomly, but how do we start also maybe training them and getting them to get the necessary education for them to start producing films that are a content it can grow legs and it can also be seen in spaces they are now on mainstream. But also, how do we start maybe assisting with our enterprise development project, which is giving startup equipment and startup packages for aspiring and developing filmmakers to start getting the little work as they are doing a lot of freelance work. I know there's a lot of freelance work that is happening between Sidibeng and Mfuleni and Lesedi. I know there's also that problem, that demarcation that is always ongoing from that side. Also, the responsibility that we have, Rona, as the Gauteng Film Commission, is also trying to make sure that we are preserving authentic stories, South African authentic stories, and also preserving the issues of language. We are trying to also promote people to tell stories in their own languages, in obviously those 11 official languages of this country. So those are the interventions from the GFC side. We can go back after this conversation and look at what the services of GFC we are offering versus the needs within line of audiovisual industries. And I think also then it gives us the opportunity to then also ask Shelley, what opportunities do you have from the department where now people that are watching our session can then go back and say, these are the offerings that you're having, these are the opportunities you have, and how do they go about applying for these opportunities? So that let's talk about the responsibility of things that we have in control over. I can't talk on behalf of issues that are with outside of GFC, but Lona from the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, as we are also a partner in this session, what opportunities do you have, which now even our people that are in the session can go back to the community and say, there's so much opportunities, this is what we need to do. Where do we go? Please unmute.
Hi, Chair, yes, you are correct. We do have a hub in the Vaal that's in the city and the hub is there to cater for the needs of the community. We have great potential for people in the creative arts, musicians, sportsmen, and so there's there's a lot of variety where people can go and apply and just give in their names and for training. So there's lots and lots of potential for the upcoming youth to get themselves involved in sports, music, creative arts, and we do have the office there. So what we could do on the Facebook is to give my contacts details, and then people can contact us, and then we can forward their applications to the office in Vereeniging. Remember that we also work with the Sedibeng District Municipality, where they could also assist. And we had a round of dialogues a week ago, and we had the same questions that were arise to us is, what can we offer? Yes, we can offer lots of training in the musical side, in the arts and culture, creative arts, sports, and various other languages, culture, poetry writing, and filming, like you mentioned, that falls under GFC. So there is quite a few varieties that we could offer you.
So Shirley, just share with us, because as I was saying, that we also need to talk about the good that government is doing. We can't neglect that government is working at some corners even if you don't highlight. How much training have you done? How many people have you trained? And are those people employed? What is the feedback in those groups?
Well, I haven't got those details with me right now, Chair. I definitely haven't got that, but there was lots and lots of youth that we came in. We had internship as well that we put onto the market. We have musicians, so there's a number, but I haven't got the correct details with me at the moment and the number.
Are your training opportunities open right now, or are you only opening in the new financial year?
Well, in the new financial year.
Thank you. So as of April, viewers can watch and follow the department's online and websites to check on opportunities from the beginning of the new financial year. Lovely. Thank you. So Felix, from your side, what opportunities do you have for us?
I think from our side, we'll continue to motivate and try and pursue the struggle of the Sharpeville survivors, because we've been working with Kulumani Group all these years. We've been working with Nico, we've been working with that communities, and we will try and champion as much as possible a lot of the outcomes that they are desiring for. For me, the issue really is that I think we're moving into a new dispensation. There is a social compact that is starting to develop in Sharpeville, where the community itself is starting to take matters into their own hands, which is a very mature sign in our own democracy. If you look at it from a deeper perspective, you will see that there is a maturing of our communities that is realizing that government on its own does not have the full capacity to give in to everybody's desires. But if the communities, and what I'm seeing happening in Sharpeville, is setting a very, very strong trend of self-help and self-processing of ideas and self-processing of opportunities and stuff like that. I think we're on a very good wicket, and there is no one better than to manage the community's future than the community itself. Otherwise, we would become what one could classify a welfarist community, just depending on handouts and stuff. And I agree with Nico, I agree with Mapatani, I agree with my good friend Joseph Khadebe at VUT, that we need to look at more strategic areas that we can open up both the economy and the skills development of that specific community. For example, a classical example, it's one of the few townships that has a dam, a magnificent dam that's right there on the periphery of the township, that's part of the township, that should have been swallowed up by developers and everybody to look at the magnificence of what could happen there. We could develop an African theme park right there on the dam, for example, that would create jobs and a whole range of stuff. So We've written these proposals many, many years ago. My office is full of proposals, of ideas of what can happen in Sharpeville, what we should do in Sharpeville. The challenge that we had recently, and Nico is witness to this, we've just managed to bring even the VAL business forums and their whole business chambers into Sharpeville. For the first time in history, it's happened 2-3 years ago that they're starting to come into the areas and starting to see the need of that specific community. So for me, I think the more we reach out, the more we open up the boundaries of Sharpeville to the outside world, the more we are going to get philanthropists that will come and invest into that specific area, the more it would encourage government also to come on board as a strategic partner to some of these investments. And I believe it would open up the whole stagnation that has happened over the last 61 years in Sharpeville. I'm of the opinion that it can only go better and better and better and better. I think we've reached a slump in the processes, and I believe that what is happening now augurs very, very well for a future that will not only just look at the development of Sharpeville, but Sharpeville could become the catalyst of other township development in this country. I'm very excited about the opportunity and the people I work with. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think I can commit, sometimes you have to commit to some form of responsibility. I can commit that tomorrow we are screening the human rights films at the monument. Thank you so much for making the spaces available for us to come in. But I think outside of that, we will also offer a information sharing session about, I will personally even do it, about the GFC and the services, so that we explain in detail how people can access us, how people can access our services, how people can access the internships and mentorship programs that we have, so that we don't have a stress. So we can do that, but I think also maybe even also what I can also declare in this session is that generally sometimes when people do have programs and sessions, you do send an invitation to the GFC to say, we've got a program like this and we've got so many students or learners that are doing audiovisual industries. Can you please do come in and explain your services? It is our responsibility as the Film Commission to be sharing this information as much as we can't get tired of it, unfortunately. So I think for me, I think that the problem that we have in the side of Sharpeville, it's the issue that people don't have adequate information for them to access these services. It's not the issue that there's no one that is doing audiovisual industries. It's not the issue that no one is doing work within the sector, but I think it's the issue of not understanding our services, maybe also not understanding our mandate as well, because once people don't understand the mandate, then they take this thing for granted, or maybe, let's not go there. So I will take full responsibility to say tomorrow when I come to Sharpeville, I will do a proper session around the services of the GFC and how people can access services of the GFC in all that I've mentioned, because I mean, we have about over 8 services. As I've said, it's audience development, it's training, permits, content development, distribution for TV, marketing and distribution, going to film festivals, permits and locations. It's a lot, script development, enterprise development. So I think all these services, I can only maybe just take that responsibility to say tomorrow, I will do it. But hape mepetan ekia how kia kalwena utlo mema ka khulumani ka mo utlo mema ka khulumani ka mo ke tle hape ke tlo hlalosa hape. And then next year or at the end of the year when I don't have applications, it can be now the responsibility ya ka jwale ke nka boikarabelo ke bolahlela ho wena ke re mama re a dumelana ke re a dumelana ne
batla go bua kena ha o go tlolela batho ba rona di survivors di a kula di nka tšhelete
mama
di ya batheng ka yona ha ba na tšhelete ya dijo ka batlung ha ba batla di special doctors ke a kopa lo fetsa a ka o tsela tsona ba bang go ya maka ga tsela le go kulo e lokile spinaleng ha gone go tsamaya go tsantse motho a tlo mo tlhosa ka ga tsela ha o tsena motho a mo tlhosa a ka nna tshaiso
Oh, Mama.
Can I just come in there?
Please do come in, Nico.
Yeah, we have done a lot of solutions and interventions, especially in partnership with government. That's what I like when you said we must give praise where it's due. Government is really working. You know, some people will look at major challenges and forget that there are smaller challenges that are actually met on a daily basis, and that actually makes a difference. We've got an information center here. It's called Quito Information and Development Center. It's based at the Sharpeville Old Police Station. And we've got a help desk that is manned Monday to Friday. So I'm challenging you now that the work of the GFC can actually be brought here so that any young person within the zone, it's not only for Sharpeville, but within the entire zone from Bipaton to Steel Park to Franaf and Barras Park, as well as Bokilo, can come here and find that information at any given time without having to wait for a workshop or anything like that. So we can actually be a referral space for the information that you want. Even applications, you can tell anyone from a website or anywhere to say, if you want information or applications are coming out, go to Quito Information Development Center, the old police station in Sharpeville. That's where you will get the information. But besides that, we have started the process of taking care of the elderly, especially those who are from the Kolomani support group. We have linked them up with the food bank, as I said. They are getting the groceries. We are continuing the discussion with the Premier's office in terms of them getting medical support and other things related to military veterans. So those are processes that we've actually started from the civil society point of view. We have established our first vertical farm yesterday. The tunnel was put up yesterday. And that vertical farm is going to be a training facility for home farmers. So they'll be coming here to the center to learn how to farm and then get starter packs to be able to do that at their own places, because it doesn't give dignity for someone to be given a plate of prepared food. It's best if someone has got his own, that's where the human rights issue comes in. It's always best for someone to have his own way of planting whatever that he wants to plant, or even sell it so that he can have money to be able to buy anything that he wants. The food parcels and the prepared food are actually making people not to be able to think and end up dependent. Unlike if you give them an opportunity to be able to do things on their own, they will be able to do that. So the Department of Social Development in Gauteng is our partner in this instance, and they are funding all these programs. We are even including the artists that have been put here by Citibank and the Department of Arts and Culture, Sports, Education, Arts and Culture, to be giving out their skills to other young people. So we are starting that program on the 1st of April. It has been approved. And the artists that are in here at the Old Sharpeville Police Station will be facilitating programs for young people so that they can learn what they know. We are teaching young people now, for the first time in Africa, to learn how to build an electric bike that we have actually sourced from Berlin in Germany. And we have been having these bikes for 2 years. The Department of Social Development has actually approved funding for young people to be able to be taught how to build and maintain these bikes. Those are the programs that are starting on the 1st of April this year. So besides the Community Nutrition Development Center that we're having here, we are saying all departments in Gauteng can use us to be able to dish out information for our communities. And not only in Sharpeville, but for the entire Selena zone, which we are serving currently through life skills, computer skills, as well as the Community Nutrition Development Center. So we are here. When you come tomorrow, you must via us, because it's just a stone throw from the exhibition center, so that you can see what they're doing. But we are, actually, I'm putting my head on the block here as the acting center manager, that bring the information, we'll make it a point that it gets to all young people that they want. You may not even have to pay for it because we are funded by another leg of government, but our help desk can be able to give out that information to any other young person. And we'll be proud to actually put it in our marketing that the GFC has got a footing in our center for any information that we want in relation to filmmaking or any storytelling processes.
Thank you so much. What's your bite on that, Joseph?
Very, very good initiatives. I'm very much happy if we have such intervention And let me applaud Uniko because he's a different person now than the person I knew 2 years, 3 years ago. He's one person who was pushing left, right, and center. And I'm happy with the work that we are reporting from a civic point of view. But let me challenge colleagues. And by doing so, I'm just probing this conversation, just testing our fitness for purpose. On the 21st, we've got an event that will be happening at Civic Theatre. I happened by default, maybe through the invitation of Shelley, to say I wanted to be part of that conversation for the build-up activities. You know what happened? The conversation that I had was that how many artists are we bringing in? There was no conversation that says how do we bring the Khulumani support group, the victims and the survivors, for them to give us a play. They've got a play that they are having, and which is not paid for. So I'm challenging the caliber of thinking that as much as we are doing this for business purposes, let's think for the survivors. If you are going to pay 25,000 rand of an appearance to one artist and fail to recognize the victim and survivors in that process, there is serious injustice in that. I've checked the program itself. The program, it says that the victims and the survivors will honor a session, the graveyard session, then they will be taken at home. Then that formal function that will be graced by the premier and so forth, they wouldn't be there. There will be performers, 5 of them. Why can't we call them to the fore and give them that 25,000 for the play that they are doing? Just to show that we are recognizing your role, your specific role, those lived memories, those lived experiences that happen, not the written ones. So I'm saying this is the thinking that Neville and Shelley, that we must have. As we go forth, we must think of the first-hand interventions that will be directly beneficial to their own groups. As much as I'm happy with the interventions from government, I'm happy from Shelley and Nico, but I'm saying that, are they really benefiting these people? It's a challenge that I'm putting, and I'm not leaving myself behind. When I took this responsibility that I will make it my task to be in their space, to assist where I can assist, bringing Ubaba Okoto to the fore, bringing VU2 to the fore, bringing arts and culture nationally into the main, bringing national social development. All of that is channeled in assisting the victim and survivor, but in a broader sense, also changing the material conditions of Sharpeville in its totality and the surrounding environs. So with that, and I'm happy that we've got the GFC in this regard. All this good work that is happening on the ground, we must begin to tell a narrative. We must begin to publicize them. We must begin to commercialize them. And in part of that commercializing, let a portion of it go to Sharpeville Foundation. Let a portion of it go to Khulumani Support Group. So let's bring donors. Let's bring donors to the fore. There are donors who are even prepared, if they are given a tour in any arrangement similar to Sharpeville, they are plowing funds. So let's have an entity where, let's have a hub where such donations will be sourced. Because remember, the survivors, they don't have a know-how of doing these things. So I'm challenging Nico and your team that bring young people to the fore, because at the end of the day, it is young people who must take on this baton and run with it. So the stories that they are telling, the lived experiences that they are telling, they will die a natural death if we do not capacitate these youth with this critical information. But in a process, let's bring NYDA on board. Let's teach these kids on how to solicitate funds for the benefit of the victims and survivors. So we are doing it, but I'm saying that there is a lot that we can do as a collective, and we are pledging Tina Esubaba Okoto, Value University of Technology, that we will travel this road, we'll travel this journey with them. It is commendable of the team that we are having. Let me assure you, the team, the caliber of panelists, we have been doing community conversations, we have been doing dialogues, we have been doing, you name them, with this collective. But this struggles goes beyond this collective. It cannot be that it is only Neville who must respond from the government perspective. I would have loved to have an executive mayor and ask the executive mayor, what is your plight in this quagmire or in these challenges that we are facing us? Where is our executive directors? Where are our MMCs when it comes to these direct interventions? We don't want to see them when they do, when they open these humongous, huge ceremonies. We want to see them on the ground. We don't want to see them when we give them reports for them to shine. We want them to be foot soldiers. And we wanted to challenge them directly to say that it can be with limited resources, and in most cases, no resources at all, we are able to clean these facilities. We'll go to such an extent that let's demystify this system of tendering and begin to let these services be done by civil society. Because we have seen that lot of money is going to individuals, which they are not even plowing back to communities. I don't want to talk about the state of our municipality, where even our accounts are in the hands of Chinese. So how then are we going to upgrade? How then are we going to take care of our heritage, take care of our communities, even if our account has been seized? And we have never even had any civic organization movement saying that let's march to the municipality, let's march to these Chinese, because their actions are hampering directly to our service delivery. It seems like as if this arrangement of Chinese, we are even harnessing it. So I'm saying, speaking broadly, yes, these challenges that are facing us, we must begin to scratch the surface, level the playing field as a collective, and hold those who are in power to account. Thank you.
So Joseph, you know, and unfortunately, the responsibility of being a stewardship is that you will fight until you go to the grave. And I think this is where we are in this group today. So stewardship has a lot of responsibility where you even neglect your own blood family, but the family that you find on the streets becomes the family that you even support and see them smile more than the one that you live with. So that's the responsibility, unfortunately, of a stewardship. Those that are Christians will say you're doing the Lord's work, unfortunately. So your frustration is, I can see it on the faces of everybody on this round table, and we are all agreeing and we are all stepping down because we are here frustrated by all the work that we are doing, and it's never enough. It is never enough, and I will die. There will be another Ntabilenge. Her work that she'll be doing, it will never be enough, but also it does not mean it will stop us from continuing to do the little that we are doing. So I think on that note, I would also like to read out comments from our viewers that are watching. They are saying, I agree the issue of food parcels is not sustainable. Let us learn how to cultivate the soil. And information sessions would work because now people can engage and access government services better. So our viewers are sharing the same sentiments to say, issues of only just food parcels is not sustainability, but let's learn how to fish so that a person can fish more can fish more. Can what? What is the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, give a person a rod and he'll be able to fish.
There we go.
Give a person a rod.
Yes, but I think I'm happy with where we are starting now to say, let's start with providing more information with all the services that we are currently providing so that our people can start accessing the work that we are doing, so that we can then, once we have done that, we then move to the second step to say, now that this group is getting all these services, where do we go assisting the next crop of group? Because of our groups of diversity and our diverse needs as well, can not only be catered only with the Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation and the GFC, but also how do we also start, once there is movement and once there is collaboration, other organizations will certainly want to join this winning team and also bring back or plow their services as well. But I think it just needs us to take a step to grow, to say this is what we are trying to do. And everybody wants to associate themselves with success. No one wants to associate themselves with failure. But once somebody can see that we are winning in our strides and our little corners, somebody will definitely open up a hand and be able to give us the support that we need. But with all the sessions and all the stakeholders being part of these conversations, I am sure and I am certain that we are going to find solutions, whether it's through social development challenges that we are facing, whether it's through other social development issues that we discussed earlier. But I think also it's still also important for us to understand and label ourselves as South Africans. We need to be able to talk about our stories without blinking. We need to talk about our history without thinking twice. We need to also even go beyond the issue of just commemorative events, but how do we also then start having this conversation at a higher level where history is taught in our schools? Because of as things stand, we all know that our own history is not even taught in our own schools, yet we're talking about preservation of history. You can't talk about preservation of history when you don't know it. We can't talk about the preservation of language when we are only speaking English. So the conversations of these human rights are not only about just the two departments, but it's the holistic approach of human rights from our language, from our history, from our traditions and culture, from social needs, from security issues, and development of who we are as South Africans and who we are as a nation. So I think that the issues that we have today, we also cannot say we are tired of speaking. We also cannot say we are tired of engaging. It is our responsibility to continue to engage. It is our responsibility to continue to knock on these doors. I think with these words, I would like to give everyone a last bite of your closing remarks, and we can call it a night. We are chasing time. We need to be done with our session at 5. So I will start with, I'm going to end with Neville. I'm going to start with Shelley.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Okay, I just want to comment on Joseph. Very, very progressive thinking, very, very excited and very, very progressive in the sense that, you know, he's so passionate about these topics and subjects that we should be supporting him. Coming back to his passion on the Imbaula or the Kulumani group is that we must realize also that the platform needs to be catered for everybody, which we can. And with the Kulumani group, we have a special program that we have, the Imbaula story, where a few days before the Human Rights Day, the 21st, is that we host the Kulumani group and we have the storytelling, and we've been doing it year after year. And my suggestion is to the Kulumani group now is that they should start teaching the youth about the story. And secondly, that GFC should come in here and film these stories, because it's very critical that we should not lose the context of this whole story. And Ma'am Selena is here. I've spoken to her already about it, is that it is very, very critical that we need to start training the youth. And the second point on the Kulumani or the Imbaula story is to get the youth to start learning the story. The other thing that I want to also think about is the sponsors. As much as government is there, remember that we cannot do everything. We do not have the capacity to do everything and to assist. This is where we need the help of the sponsors. And there's lots and lots of good sponsors in the VAL that we should be tapping on to assist with us. The challenges, there's quite a bit. And also we spoke about the NYDA, is that we also had a session that where the NYD needs to come in forcefully. It seems to be that they're in the background. And the main issue now is that Lots of organizations are in the VAL, but they are doing their own little thing. There isn't one big body where everyone can be sitting on and contributing. We find that people are working in silos. And today you'll hear from Nico that he's been doing A, B, and C, which is fantastic. We applaud him for the work that he's been doing. But I think we need to start communicating to all the different groups and maybe get people from different organizations to sit in an organization like that and work forward. That's from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ntate Nico le Mmaphetane, please.
Ke batla hore ke leboha ntate Nico hobane kajeko lena batho ba tlo utlwa tse a di etsang tse ding rona ha re di tsene re ntse re le baahi ba Sharpeville moo. Ha e ka ba ya tloha e hlahetse haholo, re na le bana, re na le ditloholo ke tseo. Empa kajeko lena ke lebohile. Empa haholo ke batla hore ntate Nico ha re kopaneng ke le mme Maphetane ke itse ke Khulumane sekolong sa counseling. Ke etsa counseling. Ha ka man government o haile tulo ke hae. Ha ba tsoka ba tla mo ntate Nico ba ka ba bona. Ke a community ya Sharpeville. Batho ba tlisa mathata. Ke butse ke a kenya batho ha ba balea ba lla ba bontate ba shapa bomme ba shapa bontate. Ke etswe ke government. Ke ntse ke sokola ke tlala ho fepa batho bana. Ke a sokola empa ka dikolo na re tsebile mo re ka fumana partnership teng. Alpha ibe e ngomelletse ditsa dintho ho batho ba tlo fumana mo tse ba di sebedisa haholo bomme. Jwale ka hone ke re ke thabetse hore le atla re tlo romella bana ba rona ho tsane ba tlo tla mo ba tlo imamela. Ke a leboha.
Thank you.
Thank you. A very good story is happening now. The old Sharpeville police station has been a place of horror. And the old Sharpeville police station now is becoming a place of hope. And that is the message that we want to give to the world today, that on the 22nd, to be on a Monday, we are taking out a band out of this place that is going to perform on a Human Rights Festival with the United Nations Office for Human Rights, as well as the Ahmed Katara Foundation. So those are things that we are saying, out of ashes, there can be good things that are coming out. The spirits of those people who died here 60 years ago are actually looking upon us to say, we had dreams, we wanted to see change, we needed freedom, and this police station is actually providing that now. So this is the place where information must be shared, and without favor, without any conditions, without someone saying, I know Nico, so I'm going to have access to that. So I must go to how we can assist project man, especially the issues that people have been brought there. Sometimes they can't have something to watch themselves with. And that's why we are engaging other departments to say, social development is not only those that are on our databases. There are those that are coming with social problems that are instant. How do we actually assist them? So the help desk is open. Anyone who wants to know anything about Sharpeville and the story, but besides that, any government intervention programs can come to the Sharpeville Old Police Station and get that information. And mainly for young people and women, because you know how women have been oppressed for quite a long time. They were even oppressed in terms of accessing information. And we're making the point that from this center, we make that information to be available. In partnership with universities that we work with, VUT as well as Northwest University, we are saying the future looks better now. And let's not fail on the dreams of those who died 60 years ago in front of the same police station. Thank you.
Thank you. And saving the best for last. Neville.
Thank you very, very much. I'm excited about the future. I need to be quite honest with you. I'm so excited because we've been part and parcel of the maturity of what is happening in Sharpeville today as we speak. Nico and them being at the police station, we've had a hand in all of this. The Khulumani group, we've had a hand in all of this. But it is time now that I believe that the message that we're receiving from the community in Sharpeville is that the demand is greater than the current outcomes. And that is the unfortunate part of where we are in today's discussion. The community is saying that the demands are greater than the outcomes that they are receiving. And I agree with them. And I would like to say to everybody out there who can play a very vulnerable role in all of this, a valuable role in all of this, is that it is time for us to develop a very comprehensive plan of how we want Sharpeville to be. Because what is happening, Sharpeville is being developed in a piecemeal way, if you understand where I'm coming, by default almost. And you cannot develop a place like Sharpeville with the magnitude and the historical background that it has by default. You have to develop it on the basis of a very strategic plan, and you must have all the players on board. And I'm excited that we are slowly moving into that arena. If you look at what happened to Germany after World War I, they had a Marshall Plan, even though Germany was completely flattened. It took them 45 years to rebuild Germany. The problem that we have in Sharpeville today is that we don't have a Marshall Plan. We don't have the requisite resources to develop it to the Sharpeville that it should be. And I agree with the community. I agree that we need to look at this. We need to form a social compact with government, with the private sector, with business, and also with the workers and with civil society, so that we can move into the next area of development in this democracy. Because if we don't do that, we will consistently be begging for our own rights. And I don't think it's correct. I think we should utilize the talents that we have. We should utilize the opportunities that we have, not only in Sharpeville, but all around in the area, and bring that to the center of the development in Sharpeville. I'm excited about what's going to happen because I can see into the future. I can see it's coming together. I'm excited about tomorrow. And even if I'm not there as part of that future, hopefully somebody, maybe Nico knows some writer or playwright or something, they maybe write a little story about a guy like me, a guy like Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, the people that have really played, that has been there when days were dark in Sharpeville. It's only been the few of us that has been consistently knocking on the doors and hammering and hammering and hammering. I remember starting in this process and I never had any gray hairs. Today I'm completely gray, and I am so excited about where tomorrow holds and the future holds in Sharpeville. I'm excited because if you go to the monument, you'll see the youth is sitting there. They are all there busy with their cell phones because we've installed fiber for the community in that specific area. So that already opens up another avenue of excitement for this youth. I look at them sometimes and I see them busy with TikTok. I don't know if you know this TikTok thing. And these guys are busy doing extraordinary stuff. These youngsters on the seats outside of the monument are doing extraordinary stuff. So I'm very excited. I'm saying that we need to allow Sharpeville to take its course.
It must shine.
And to develop itself into the place it wants to be. And we as government and civil society and business should play a supportive role in making it happen. I think that's the message that I have. And last but not least, so that I don't fail one of my great heroines, which is Charlotte Mkeka, which a lot of people don't understand, is the very first Black science academic in South Africa, in the history of South Africa. A wonderful woman that has set up the Wilberforce Institute right here in the Vaal, in Everton, where some of the greatest presidents throughout Africa came to study at our facilities here in Everton. So there's a story to be told about this community of the Vaal that hasn't been told. There is an unstructured process that needs to be told, because many of the struggles in the Vaal has been key in repositioning South Africa's democracy that we all enjoy today. So without trying to say too much about these things, I'm excited. I think the Val deserves to be recognized for the amount of value that it had added in the liberation struggles and also in the acquiring of democracy in South Africa. It's by no mistake that the Constitution was signed there on the 10th of December 1996. And I'm excited. It didn't happen anywhere else in the country. Why Sharpeville? So it tells a story on its own, and we need to continue to tell the story and start to encourage the learners and the youth of tomorrow, because the mistake that we are making, we are losing that element of struggle history, because most of the people is starting to find themselves in an aged disposition. So we need to transfer these skills. We need to transfer all of these challenges. Our youth must be there, and even the second generation after them must be there in order to pick up the spear. Once that happens, I think we will tell another story. Maybe one day you'll invite us back and we'll have a discussion of what happened in Sharpeville.
I hope so. I hope so. I will read out one of the comments from our viewer. It's Ding Mo. He's saying collaboration is more imperative. It is the responsibility of activists, academic activists, industry, and most importantly, government to build a cadre of civil society. So I think so I think the conversation is just gelling well with even our viewers and audiences are understanding and are agreeing with what we are saying, to say the collaboration and the partnership between all these spheres are very important for us to always fight our social and human rights issues that we are always faced with. In as much as they are revolving, there will always be issues that as society we have a responsibility to address and to tackle. I think from my side, I would like to say thank you so much for making the time to participate in this roundtable. Thank you, Shelley, for making this a priority and making sure that our lovely guests have presented us with their knowledge, brilliance, as well as information that I think I've written so much, and I do feel that I do also have a responsibility from my side to address and look at the things that we can also try to address from the Gauteng Film Commission side. Amongst the things that we know with human rights is that, human beings have been oppressed in workspaces, in society, as well as in community. But it takes just speaking to colleagues and speaking your issues so that they can be addressed. So tomorrow, I would like to invite our viewers and audiences to come watch film screenings at the Sharpeville Monument. We will be there for the whole day tomorrow, including workshops on information sharing sessions. Please do come. We are excited and we are happy to host our film screenings. But I think it should not only end there. I did say that we need more audience development initiatives around the Sharpeville area, so that even the content that we are creating in silos, we need to start criticizing each other before we can even take it to the world. It's easier when you get criticism in your own family. By the time you face the world, you are more ready. But by the time you get to other people, there is a support that is behind you. And I think with those words, I would like to say Happy Human Rights Month to everyone, to my participants, to also my viewers at home, to everybody in the country. Enjoy the holiday, and let's all do right. Let's all be stewardship, but also let's teach each other the responsibility that one has to take as just individuals, and ensuring that our human rights are not violated. But how do we then promote each other's human rights for us to be greater? Thank you so much. My name again is Nthabeleng Pora from the Gauteng Film Commission. Thank you so much to the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture for allowing us the space to also partner with them, and have a lovely afternoon. Thank you so much.
Sharpeville, an industrial township, thousands gather outside a police station in protest against new laws requiring every African to carry a pass at all times.
The cells are full.
How long is it going to take?
Dis die laaste keer wat jy met julle kamer stap.
Mina, jullie weten informatie. Eenmaal informatie. Hierdie is 'n onwettige bijeenkomst. Dit fans is op weg in the stadium. This is your final warning. Hold jullie!
There are many people who feel that it is useless and futile for us to continue talking peace and non-violence against a government whose reply is only savage attacks on an unarmed and defenseless people.
What are human rights? The respect for human rights is a central feature of a constitutional democracy. Human rights protect us against the actions of those who exercise power over us and help us to create a world in which we can all reach our full potential as human beings. We are entitled to have our human rights protected and promoted simply because we are human beings and deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. This means whatever our nationality, place of residence, sex, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, language, or any other status, we are all entitled to fundamental human rights. Because of South Africa's apartheid history, the protection of human rights is specifically important in this country. Before 1994, the most basic rights of the majority of South Africans were not respected by the state. We decided as a nation to protect the human rights of all when we became a democracy, to ensure that no one is subjected to the infringement of our rights and the denial of their human dignity ever again. The protection of human rights in South Africa draws inspiration from the global human rights movement, which started after the Second World War and culminated in the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations General Assembly in 1948. Human rights follow three core principles which describe how these rights work and apply. Firstly, our rights are inalienable. That means that our rights will always apply to us simply because we are human. They cannot be taken away from us by anyone. Our rights will not change, even if our life circumstances change. The second core principle is interdependence. That means that our rights come as a full package. This is because the protection of some rights depends on the protection of other rights. Our human rights support one another and strengthen one another. The third core principle is equality and non-discrimination. That means that every person enjoys the same set of rights. This is a core principle in our South African context. Rights apply equally to everyone. In a democracy like South Africa, human rights are guaranteed by the country's constitution. The constitution is the supreme law of the country. One of the most important parts of our constitution, as far as ordinary people are concerned, is Chapter 2, the Bill of Rights. Our South African Bill of Rights outlines different groups of human rights. First of all, it gives a number of basic rights. They include the right to equality before the law, the right to life, and the right to human dignity. The Bill of Rights then goes on to talk about civil rights, which are the rights that a person has as a member of a community, state, or nation, so they are linked to citizenship. Examples of civil rights include the freedom of religion, belief, and opinion, and the freedom of expression. Then we further have political rights, which include each citizen's right to make political choices, such as forming or campaigning for a political party, and the right to vote in free and fair elections. What is special about our Bill of Rights in South Africa is that it also focuses on socio-economic rights. Examples are the right to housing, the right to education, the right to healthcare, food and water, and the right to social security. Not all countries commit themselves to these rights. These rights place a special duty and responsibility on our government. They are very important because a large part of the struggle for freedom was about improving the lives of the majority of the people. So these are the different groups of human rights in our Bill of Rights. The bill requires the state to respect, protect, promote, and fulfill these guaranteed rights. But we citizens not only have rights, but obligations too. The same values that protect us have to guide how we treat one another in society. So remember, we too have the responsibility to respect these rights at all times. Even if we do not like another person, it is our duty to respect his or her rights. You can see this easily if you think about a specific right, like the right to basic education. It means that you are free to go to school, but it also means that you should not prevent anyone else from going to school. The Bill of Rights also applies to relations between all individuals and relations between individuals, the government, and private institutions. Now, why are human rights so important? Human rights are a central feature of any constitutional democracy. In South Africa, our human rights are outlined in the Bill of Rights, which is found in Chapter 2 of our Constitution and forms the cornerstone of our democracy. It is supposed to ensure that we all enjoy the protection of the democratic values of human dignity, freedom, and equality before the law.